Let's talk about Arthur Maulet, former Pittsburgh Steeler. Spent a couple years with Mike Tomlin and company, and now he spent the last year and a half with the Ravens. Of course, Arthur was unavailable to start out the year because of undergoing arthroscopic knee surgery at the end of the summer. This was somebody who was highly valuable as a slot corner, a nickel corner, a hard hitting DB who understands AFC North football, has a knack for the ball, and I think is a great locker room veteran presence in Baltimore. He certainly was last year. I think it will pay dividends once he kind of gets his feet from underneath him this year, and they're going to start to ease him back in and hopefully rely on him. I don't know about heavily, but somewhat heavily down the second half stretch. He had something to say about his former team when it comes to their game plan, at least in the past, when it comes to keeping Lamar Jackson at bay. I think you'll enjoy this. He's got a dynamic personality. If you don't believe me, watch this.
They're trying to do with Lamar. They're going to put a person at the dive, and they're going to run a person straight at Lamar, and they're going to make him make a decision. So that's their game plan. One person goes to Lamar, one person goes to the dive for the RPO, and that's going to be their game plan to slow him down a little bit. From what I said, maybe they changed a little bit. I ain't been there in a while, but exactly, he can throw way better now. And he lost a little weight. When I was over there, he was a little fat man. But now, he lost a little weight and running like his old self.
Arthur Maulet, ladies and gentlemen. Video courtesy of Morgan Atzett of Fox 45 here in Baltimore. And you heard the man. He spent 2021 and 2022 with Pittsburgh. And as Morgan writes, yeah, he's got a pretty good idea of what Lamar might see from the Steelers on Sunday. He also referred to Lamar's past physique as being fat man. Okay, I don't know about that, but he certainly has slimmed down, and his overall elusiveness, I'm sure, has thanked him for doing so far this year. Look, I don't think that's the Steelers' game plan, but if it is, Maulet's got all kinds of information and tricks up his sleeve about what the Steelers might be throwing at Lamar Jackson. What I do know is Mike Tomlin and company have had a whole lot of success when it comes to facing Lamar Jackson over his years. The Steelers are 4-2 all time thus far against Lamar. Lamar has missed several of these due to injury and or illness in the past, or related to bye weeks, or preps, I should say, for bye weeks. If I'm not mistaken, 2019 and 2023, the Ravens in the regular season finales in both of those seasons already had the top overall seed and the bye secured, which meant that either Robert Griffin III or Tyler Huntley would get the opportunity to handle QB1 duties that day, and Lamar and other starters had a chance to sit. So keep that in mind. Keep some of the illness and the injury in mind when you look at this record. But when you also look at this record, it's undeniable in those 6 games, Lamar hasn't been himself. Last win came back in October of 2019. His first came back in his rookie year, back in 2018. I'll do a screen share too to show you the specific numbers, courtesy of StatMuse. He's thrown a career, let's see what the combined number is. I think it's 7 interceptions to just 4 touchdowns in 6 games. 870 yards, 59.1 completion percentage. And again, that 2-4 record against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's obvious. It's pretty darn obvious when you look at it. And you look at his career statistics over the years. He's had a boatload of more success against pretty much every other team in this league. Not named the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not named the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not telling you anything you guys don't already know. And this year, you better believe Mike Tomlin's defensive unit firing on all cylinders yet again. They boast the 8th ranked unit league-wide. They're 4th against the run, 19th against the pass, 2nd in terms of points per game allowed, 10th in third down defense, 13th in fourth down, and 4th in red zone defense in terms of touchdown percentage. From a disciplinary standpoint, they're 2nd in turnover margin, 11th in penalties, and 12th in penalty yards negated. The Ravens can't necessarily say the same in those final two categories. They rank dead last in penalties, and they rank dead last in penalty yards negated. That is a ridiculous statistic that I'm sure we will revisit later this week. As far as the Lamar Jackson preparation and the amount of respect that Pittsburgh has for Lamar, you all saw this from earlier in the week that went viral when Mike Tomlin talked about Mr. Jackson.
Oh, compare people to Lamar Jackson. That's a multi-time MVP. That's Mr. Jackson. We'll see Mr. Jackson in a few days. Really cool to be in these games, not because it's them, but because they're a good team. This time of year, you want to be leaning in on five-star matchups and being a component of it. You're in five-star matchups not only because of the quality of people that you're playing, but also what you've done. And we respect that component of it, and we're excited about that component of it. And we just want to continue to sharpen our sword for these battles, to find a way to prepare ourselves and put our best foot forward and find a way to win, and search for more. And so for this week, we acknowledge, man, Baltimore is a really good team. And historically, we've had some awesome matchups, man. There's always AFC North ramifications, and I just respect this rivalry. I think one of the awesome components of this rivalry is the continuity in the organizations, man. I've been on my job a long time. Harbs has been on his job a long time. And I think that adds a texture and history to it. And so that's something that is an honor to be a part of. And we're just simply writing the latest chapter this week with some new faces for us, and new faces for them as well. Guys get an opportunity to be a component of this thing, and even some guys flipping sides, guys like Patrick Queen and Moon being on this side of it, just like Arthur Maulet a year or so ago, moving to their side of it. But I just think that that's a component of it, man, this intimacy in this relationship. We're highly familiar with their players. They're highly familiar with ours. And when you have that level of familiarity, sometimes guys play on both sides. I think Chris Wormley, for example, is back on their practice squad last time I checked.
I'll tell you what, too, with familiarity certainly comes competitive balance, greatness, parity, and my God, some epic battles over the years. In terms of all time, the Steelers lead this series 32-24. Postseason-wise, Steelers also lead 3-1. Throughout the John Harbaugh era, the Steelers lead in the postseason 2-1. Throughout the John Harbaugh era, regular season-wise, the Steelers also lead 18-14. Mike Tomlin has had John Harbaugh's number. You see pretty much every single time these two teams play, when they are fully healthy, it's a one-score game or less. There's beauty in the struggle of Ravens Steelers. And certainly when it comes to Lamar Jackson and the endless amount of accolades that he has compiled over his 6+ years in this league, this is one of those ones that's not going to change the legacy of Lamar by any stretch. But a win against the Steelers, and even more importantly, sweeping this regular season series this year, will go a long way to shifting things around when it comes to the shuffle and AFC seeding the implications that it has on the division, and really kind of bucking the trend here a little bit, being that the Steelers have had Lamar's number over the years. And there's really only one other team that can say that, and that's the group that's going for a three-peat. The history that would be a three-peat with the Kansas City Chiefs trying to go back to back to back. Mike Tomlin, John Harbaugh, your first and second longest tenured head coaches in the entire league. Tomlin comes to Pittsburgh in 2007. Harbaugh comes to Baltimore the year later in 2008. And both of these guys still chugging away with their respective organizations. It's an iconic matchup. And another chapter gets written coming up on Sunday.